Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's how it always starts. But then later there's running and screaming.
The world's just changed so radically, and we're all running to catch up. How can we possibly have the slightest idea what to expect? The best intentions. Some of the worst things imaginable have been done with the best intentions.
Dr. Malcolm, here to share a few campfire stories with my uncle.
You can convince the Washington Post and the Skeptical Inquirer of whatever you want. But I was there, I know what happened, and so do you.
I don't think you're giving us our due credit. Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
Hello, welcome to a very late issue of Jurassic Minutes for January, where we discuss recent movie, toy and franchise news for the Jurassic series. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And on this episode, we're mainly going to talk Camp Cretaceous Season 2, but there's some toy reveals and that coming out as well from Jurassic Collect. But before we get to that, David, how has the spending been going? I know I haven't really spent a lot on anything over the last couple of months, apart from a eBay spree I went on the other night and purchased some from Fandango magazines and a Rolling Stone magazine featuring Jurassic Park.
Well, I have thankfully gotten my taxes out of the way early.
Oh, nice.
So I got good news about my tax return that was actually submitted the other day. So I'm going to be getting a good return this year. So I kind of felt the need to kind of splurge a little bit. I went off and I got the Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 FilmArena box sets. They were Blu-ray Steelbook sets that were released in 2017. I think we actually discussed them back then.
It sounds familiar, especially once you started posting photos up about it on the socials.
Yeah. So those were really exciting to get because they came with like the set of lobby cards for each movie that were these HD behind the scene stills, and then they came with like a little booklet with more HD behind the scene stills and production photos and promotional photos, and they had character cards in them and a magnetic what would you call it, like a holographic like movie cover, kind of like what the Lost World holographic card for the VHS was like, but it was magnetic, so it stuck to the steelbook.
Elliptical? Is that what they call it? I can't
something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
The
Lost World one changes between the T-Rex, the Brachiosaurus, and the Velociraptor, and then the Jurassic Park 3 one changes between the classic scratch steel look and the rocky lava look.
Nice.
The only kind of disappointment I have with those holographic things are that they use the Jurassic World silhouettes, which, I mean, it's Universal. They probably cheaped out, and they got cheap on the Stotson.
they just handed the project to someone, and he put this together for us. I know a couple of the images. I think it was the Ian Malcolm and Richard Schiff using different character names there. The cards, they had the same sort of redwood background, the jungle background.
Yeah. So the Lost World ones, they had like the normal production photo stills that they had for the characters that we see in like the behind the scenes book, but photoshopped onto redwood backgrounds. And then Jurassic Park 3 had the same, but with a like classic jungle background.
Yeah, it'll lend itself to a later story we're going to talk about with something coming with some production photos. But some of the photos you did show on those cards were only photos we had sort of not the best quality images for, and now we've got HD versions.
Exactly.
It has me very excited for something we're going to talk about in a little bit longer, a little bit down the line.
And then the other thing I got was a Lost World mouse pad. I don't remember if I had this when we last recorded. I don't think I did. But it's basically the T-Rex maquette on a black background with "I Will Survive" in the bright kind of pinkish lettering, and the Lost World logo on the top. So, but it's a really, really great shot of the maquette, which I really wanted that in my collection.
Thank you to Lost World Marketing. I've been taking some photos of the collector cards and just posted them up on the Twitter account. That and the Triceratops. I can't remember what it is, but just the weird little taglines they got with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Compy's been presumed to be scavengers, like jackals.
Gives me the creeps. It's like it's not scared.
There haven't been any visitors to this island. There's no reason for it to fear man.
Now it does.
I suppose we should address too the fact that we have been quiet for a good few weeks. We had shows posted up over the Christmas break, and we just wanted to take a couple of weeks off to refresh, re-energise, and get ready to discuss the second half of Jurassic World. But we haven't really been sitting around on our hands over that break. We've been working with a 3D modeler. I didn't even realise that both of us had been talking to the same guy until later, and I'm glad we didn't really have any butting of heads with our thoughts on some different things, but 3D modeler's been working on the Site B Worker Village and the operations building. Yeah,
interestingly enough, what we were telling this guy seemed to line up basically exactly with each other.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Well, we did.
Good.
There was one occurrence towards the very end that it seemed that we were, and then I was just looking at the sliders video again and realised I was looking at the completely wrong section of the operations building. So I really need to look at those videos a little bit closer, and because there's a couple of things even on my floor plan that I've done that need to be changed because I was a little bit off. So that's all right. I can admit when I'm wrong, and I can't wait until we share with the world what we're working on, because it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching the progress as it comes together, and I'm like, this is my childhood coming together in a 3D model. It's like amazing to see.
Yep, agreed. And just the as I've been talking to him, just the ramifications for it, not just having a 3D model, but being able to use that model to then go into Lego, wood, and like make a miniature, a proper miniature or something of the building as well. So cannot wait.
My understanding is that he's actually going to make a 3D print miniature of the model.
Yeah, I suppose it doesn't wait in saying that. I'm sure. Yeah, because it's a HO scale 3D print of it, which can be scaled up or scaled down. But yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. But until we're ready to announce that. And talk about new things we get next minutes. David, how about we get into some news?
All right.
Move where? Our boat, their airlift, they're both waiting for an order. We have no way to send.
All right. There's a communications center here at the old operations building. Haven't ran everything on geothermal power. It was never meant to need replenishing. If we can get here, we can send a radio call for the airlift.
All right. Something I wasn't expecting to come either this past month, and something that we're definitely going to revisit again in February as well when we get some links and that. But we prayed, we imagined, we thought that it would never happen, but the opportunity to get our hands on the 35mm open matte versions of The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 have become a supposed reality.
Mm-hmm.
Someone on the socials has come forward with they know someone that's got a copy of the films on that 35mm print, and they haven't started posting links yet, but they are looking for fan support to cover costs to get it all transferred to digital and out there for the fans.
Yeah, that is very exciting. Like you said, we've prayed, we've hoped, and it looks like our prayers have been answered, because he shared with both of us the first couple minutes that had been made available to him, and it looks very promising. It's a lot like the Jurassic Park open matte copy that we've talked plenty about, where it's got the digital shots. Anything with like digital in them is in the theatrical aspect ratio, whereas anything with just pure practical shots in them are in the full open matte.
Yep. Yeah, it is a shame whether, I don't know, it was being misinformed or whatever. They decided to start with Jurassic Park 3. The person that contacted us was urging him to maybe do The Lost World instead, because there'd be more people wanting or willing to help support the Lost World over Jurassic Park 3, but as I said to him, having the ability to have both films in that version would be fantastic.
I recall him telling us that relaying, I should say, that the person was actually surprised that the sequels would get that much attention.
Yeah.
And I've been joking, like, I'll fund the entire thing. I can write all kinds of numbers on these checks, Dr. Grant.
Yeah, that's why I posted up straight away. I can commit this much to it just to see it done, because I really want to see it done and have a copy. And it makes me wonder how many other people are out there sitting on those versions of the film, thinking, yeah, no one likes the rest of the films in the franchise. It's just Jurassic Park. Because even now, there's been some people coming forward saying either have the 35mm or can do the 35mm. I think it might be the same person, but it's already been done. You missed the boat. Missed the boat on that one.
I just think it's funny because, I mean, this guy's asking for like a very small loan. It's only a couple $100 for some better equipment to scan the actual 35mm film strips themselves, and it's like, as soon as he announces this, every Jurassic Park fan within a 250,000 mile radius is wanting to throw cash at this guy. Yeah. Like, wait, I'm not even putting up the link yet.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. As long as if there's enough support out there for it and the funds can be made, if it is more than what he's asking for, then maybe just to make sure that it's done correctly and we get a good quality product at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. I mean, like, I'll throw in $500 to get the good equipment right now.
Yeah. Yep. And this is be highly specific equipment too that only sort of used. It's not like buying a projector with a couple of AV leads or HDMI lead leading from that to a computer to record. It's running that film through some sort of capture process and scanning it digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that's following the I can't recall the name of the Facebook pages now that are actually doing shot by shot, frame by frame of the Lost World and the original trilogy.
Yeah. Every Jurassic Park frame in order, I think it's called. And it is literally every single Jurassic Park frame in order.
Yeah, I checked in the other day. I think it was just before Eddie was given the spiel on the Landstrat air rifle, and I think it was up to 5,000 frames. It just that far into the Lost World, so
you can't take if you want to follow that, you can't just take a break like after like a couple days, or else you're just gonna be lost. You're gonna be like
so yeah, head over, check out those what they're doing as well. But we hopefully should talk more about this on the next minutes when we have a link up to GoFundMe, however they're going to organise for us fans to throw our money at this guy.
Oh God, something went wrong. Something's happened. Something's wrong.
It is just a delay. That's all it is. All major theme parks have delays. When they opened Disneyland in 1956, nothing worked.
Yeah, but John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
I can't wait anymore. Something went wrong. I'm gonna go get the power back on.
Coming up next, I think this is a slip-up, even though it doesn't really say it much here, but Sam Neill was interviewed on the Daily Mail towards the end of January, and let's slip that Dominion was going to be released next year in May, which is a month earlier than what we thought it'd be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that a lot of fans are expecting a June release. In fact, I think even some of the posters and stuff said June 2022, which would I think was at the time the official expected release. But I guess at May now be the release. Moving it up a month, I mean, if they're ready to do that, I see no problem with it. The Lost World was released in May, and I had no problem with that. So, yeah. I mean, it's not like June is the strict kind of street date, for the Jurassic franchise. The precedent has and can be broken.
Yeah, well, the only real news we had was that it had been delayed a year, and it was due for June this year and pushed back a year. So obviously we'll think in June 2022. But if they want to come out further, he jokes in the interview he's hoping that that cinemas will be around, or there'll be enough people and cinemas open to see it. So that's the other thing we've got to look at here too. Yes, it's all fair and good it being in the can ready to go, but we've just gone into another 5-day snap lockdown here, which has completely screwed up my week again. To get on top of these little outbreaks here and there, and going to theatres is definitely not one thing that a lot of people are expecting to do anytime soon.
Yeah, that's the other thing, which I can imagine that, I mean, like, if they plan to release it at this point, I'm imagining they're going to be releasing it concurrently with streaming services, and then you just pay for like $30 or whatever, like what Disney's doing, where they're releasing, I think it's Raya and the Last Dragon or something like that is their next upcoming movie they're going to be releasing on their streaming service instead of just sending it into theaters.
But so it's starting to get that backlog too, because you've got Fast and the Furious. It's now 2 years, 2 years behind being released. You've got the Minions prequel film, animated film, that's been delayed as well. Both Universal properties, and both were due out well before Dominion. So I don't see how just sitting. They're never going to be able to get these big multi-billion-dollar box office numbers again when no one's going to the cinemas and that. And I don't know how you can make your money back on streaming.
And even worse yet is that theaters weren't doing very well before the pandemic and before all these lockdowns. They were kind of just barely making even at the point. I think that once the whole COVID thing is over, theaters are going to see an influx of patronage, but then it's going to level off back to the pre-pandemic numbers, which is not good for theaters, frankly.
No, especially
because they were already going downhill before all this.
Yeah, especially with some like Warner Brothers and that releasing all the stuff on HBO Max, I think it is, same day or whatever it is. So
yeah, I was just watching the trailer for the Zack Snyder cut that was released today.
I'd just seen the news before about that. I gotta go have a look.
And so that's coming in March. I think Godzilla vs. King Kong is coming in March. Yeah. And I got HBO Max specifically for all these releases. So I mean, it's not like Warner Brothers isn't making their money back by doing this. You know?
Yeah, they'd have internal records about how much all this is doing between them and Disney Plus and that. Whether the $30 rental, I don't think. You might have purchased film when Mulan come out, $30 to watch that instead of seeing it at the cinema and that as well. Yep, the future is rocky. Yeah, because I think it's Dominion. It's a film you'd want to see in the theaters, but.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I've seen every Jurassic Park movie since The Lost World in theaters.
Yep.
Since Jurassic Park 3 in theaters.
Yep.
So.
Yep. We'll just have to wait and see what happens in the world with the well, it's not a cure, with the vaccine and everything else.
If we split up, I'm going with you guys.
In the meantime, though, moving on to our next story. We can keep spending and buying Mattel's goodness because they've posted up some photos or some information on their 2021 Amber Collection line featuring a Pteranodon, Ray Arnold, and a Raptor that we've been waiting for as well.
Yeah, they officially released pictures of the quote-unquote Tiger Raptor, which I think is now actually up for pre-order. I think that comes out in March as well. And I'm going to admit I'm not happy with it. I'm disappointed. It looks literally like a Tiger Raptor, but there's some paint screw-ups with it. And I'm not sure if it's that specific model that they're choosing for some reason to use, or if that's going to be the actual final product on shelves. but they have like black paint splatter all over the eyes, so the eyes are kind of like this dirty greenish yellow look instead of the bright yellow look, and the paint is kind of vibrant. The snout looks like it's missing some of the orange to it, and I'm going to admit, I thought that Echo somehow is making a better Lost World Raptor than the official Lost World Raptor they're supposed to be coming out with.
Yeah, we mentioned a couple of months ago when that Echo was revealed, and we said it was going to be the stand-in until they'd done something like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Like the way it sort of gets so light under the tail and under the bottom jaw and that, and just a big splotch of brown around the eye. And as you said, they've obviously mis-sprayed or oversprayed it into the eye as well. Instead of having that nice big bright eye, it is a shame. Plus, I wonder what if this is just another blue, repainted blue, or if they've done anything special to the mold.
It is. These have all been what they're called, I guess, is they're called like polygizing or something like that. It's got a weird name, but what they do is they take the ILM file, which is a scan, and it's the pre-clean file from when they make blue, but they take that digital scan they made, clean it up, but the scan itself is from a Jurassic Park 1 Raptor, which is itself not the final design that we see on screen. So it kind of becomes this weird kind of amalgamation of the Jurassic Park 1 Raptor and the Jurassic World Raptor design, and that's kind of how they're able to get away with both looking halfway decent.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed though, the hands, it might be just because they're all the one orange colour and there's no paint detail apart from the black claws, but they remind me a lot of the electronic screeching raptor from Jurassic Park that Kenner did.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's just the same colour, so it's not really much of a thing. But yeah, it's a shame. Customizers would go to work on this. We've seen what they've done with Echo, and I might end up doing the same. But
when I first got Echo, I was really able to kind of easily transform that into a Lost World Raptor with like 2 black lines over the snout. And now I'm kind of anxious to get out there and take photos of like the raptors out under when there's not 2 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'd match with what we've seen with Dominion.
It's true, yes. I've actually saw I can't remember if we put this up in the news, but while we're on the subject of Raptor toys, there was, I think, released today a advertisement from Kinder Surprise, also called Kinder Joy. They're a Italian chocolate company that sells like little toys in hollowed out chocolate, and they're kind of similar to the Wonder Ball here in the States, but instead of like additional little candies inside the chocolate, you actually have an actual prize. Apparently, they couldn't be sold in the States because American kids are too stupid to not eat the toy inside. But yes, they will be having little Jurassic Park figures, and I think they eventually actually did start selling them in the United States. I can't remember but I think I have seen them on like shelves and stuff. But they'll have Jurassic Park, I think the Stegosaurus, the Mosasaurus, T-Rex, Apatosaurus, Raptor, or Blue, I should say. She's the only Raptor left. But yeah, they got all those. But the advertisement, the header image on the top of it was blue against a snowy forest background, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it might be a little bit foreshadowing there.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wasn't expecting, this is Jurassic Park 3 Pteranodon coming.
Yes, there is, and it actually looks really good. I'm excited for it.
It's got some really nice paint detail. It's got that sort of red colour on the behind the eye socket and on the beak. It does look fantastic.
Yeah.
I need 3 of them. Troop build.
I mean, it definitely reminds me a lot of the Jurassic Park 3 figure itself, which I believe the paint apps were based on the maquette for. So yeah, it's hit me in the nostalgia, and I definitely think I'll be picking that one up.
And there's one shot here with a measuring tape in the background. You can see the Jurassic World Pteranodon and the Dimorphodon on the ground underneath, and it's a lot wider, 44 centimetres here in my scale. 10, 11, no, 12 inches is 30. Over 12 inches anyway, wide. So
it looks like it'd come out to be a little more than 17 inches, so it'd be about the same size as the Alpha Pteranodon from the Jurassic Park 3 line.
No talk of accessories or anything to come with it. I would have loved a Eric Kirby to go with it.
Yeah, but now you're packaging 2 figures in one box. That would send the price up.
Yeah, true. But they are giving us some more human figures. Apparently, they're not so more important one, or maybe it is. There's going to be a version 2 of Ian Malcolm. Obviously, pretty much just going to be a new head sculpt, whether it's the Lost World version, or the Fallen Kingdom version with him all bearded up. I'd say it's probably going to be the Jurassic World version, all bearded up, but I wouldn't mind having a Lost World version of Ian Malcolm.
I've heard Lost World version, but again, the rumor mill has been wrong for me before, so I'm not going to promise Lost World version. I can only say that I'd love a Lost World version.
And the other one I wasn't expecting at all, Ray Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Mother-loving Jackson himself is going to be immortalised in a toy, because I don't think there was a Ray Arnold figure originally. Was there?
No, there was not.
No, so...
But I do know that Collect Jurassic also revealed some other ones in silhouette that I think including a T-Rex, which he claims it's a placement silhouette, but I heard it's supposed to be a T-Rex that's quote unquote mid-size, so I don't know if that's like meaning mid-size scale or if it's gonna just be the baby T-Rex itself. You know?
Well, there's a second link here to Mattel's 2021 Capture Gear T-Rex and more. There are links and photos here too of the new attack pack that's got the baby Brachiosaurus in it, and the new Dimorphodon, and the Soundstrike, which has got a couple new coloured baryonyx, the new Ankylosaurus, the better looking Ceratosaurus with more of that red colour on top, and the new Allosaurus as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Allosaurus is looking really nice. I can't remember, are these spikes on the back of it new or no? I thought that was on the original figure.
Yeah, it's probably just a repaint of it. The baryonyx look a lot like the Fallen Kingdom one as well.
But yeah, the Capture Gear T-Rex is looking beautiful. I've seen some of the in-hand photos being posted around. It is the absolute best paint scheme we've ever got on a T-Rex figure. And Capture Gear. I mean, I know that's something that a lot of fans have been wanting from Mattel, so Mattel has heard you fans, and they are bringing in Capture Gear.
And it's just something simple. It's just the restraint over the head, and it sits against the neck. I wonder if we should just stop buying T-Rexes and wait 5 to 6 years and then just pick the best one, because each year we keep on getting a new one and it keeps on being better than what came before. And I know Jay's probably got room for an army of Tyrannosaurs, but I don't.
I don't either, but I'm going to keep buying them.
It does look fantastic. It does. And we got the Massive Biter, or the Mega Destroyer Stegosaur as well, which is a new coloured version of that original Stegosaur, it looks like, on the model, but I never got that figure, so I hope at least this one gets over here on store shelves, so I don't have to go near Evil Bay to pay twice as much for it. Anything else on Mattel's new stuff? February is normally Toy Fair, even though it's been cancelled over in America, but I'm sure there's going to be some online or more online reveals during the month that we can report on at the end. Next Jurassic Minutes, maybe a first look at that new Malcolm and Ray Arnold figure.
There is the extreme damage Tyrannosaurus Rex coming. a retooling of the classic epic roaring figure, but it's going to have like some giant kind of gash marks on the side where I guess you press a button on the hip of the figure and the regular skin tone flips back to reveal like a scarred up kind of blood tones on the underneath the scratches.
That would explain the Oh yes, yeah, because that's the third article here from Collect Jurassic 2, the video preview from the extreme damaged T-Rex. Yeah, we've talked numerous times about what they did with Jurassic Park 3 and just having that the dino damage on it and not being able to hide it. And then I think it wasn't until Fallen Kingdom when they had the little tab on there you could switch between the damage and the exposed, or put the skin back over it.
There was they did try to do those classic pull-up tabs like we had on the Kenner figures with that very, very limited line that we got in what was it, 2013, I think, with the release of Jurassic Park 3D.
Sounds right.
And then they had the Allosaurus and the Allosaurus and the Pachyrhinosaurus. And then they were going to come out with a Carnotaurus and Stegoceratops. Stegosaurus as well, but those got canceled, unfortunately, because these figures were absolutely beautiful. They were sculpted beautifully. I think actually the sculptor ended up working with the Beast of the Mesozoic lines with David Silva and his company.
Ah, nice. This looks like it must be the Fresh and Throw model. I can't remember which one's got the collar around its neck. This one is just on the video preview anyway, but
it's the epic roaring figure, the one where you press down on the back of the neck and the mouth opened up.
Ah, yeah, okay.
They used that one a lot with the Legacy line figures.
Yep. And yet again, another paint job, sort of aping for that Red Rex version.
Yeah, it is. I noticed it almost kind of reminds me a lot of the Junior Rex from the JP, from the Jurassic Park toy line.
Yep. Yeah, it's still sort of got those tiger stripes on the back, but they're a lot more subdued, not as prominent.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, again, the big dark sections around the eyes and the top of the nose there. So. Yeah.
Well, we know that Mattel has definitely gone for the nostalgia gauntlet before, especially with some of their recent releases. They had the bright, brilliantly colorful Gallimimus figure that was heavily based on the original Jurassic Park toy line Gallimimus. And then they've also came out with the Troodon figure that looks heavily based on the Jurassic Park the game animal.
Yep. This is going to be a tangent and a half. Thank you, Disney. They've Disney Plus have recently put up all 4 seasons of Dinosaur, the Jim Henson live action sitcom, whatever you want to call it, from the early 90s. And every time I see, not Eric, I can't remember his name now, the father, I just think of that Lost World T-Rex maquette. And if someone's got some Facebook, some Photoshop things, just put those scars on the front of his nose, because he's got a lot of that sort of that light green that goes down to the yellows on his neck as well, on that character. Every time I see it, I think the Lost World.
You're dead. You crazy son of a bitch, you're dead.
Alright, up next, Beast Kingdom has posted over on Twitter a pre-order for a set of Jurassic gates. What would you call this? Just a small display piece with the Jurassic Park gates light up. I'm pretty sure the torches light up on it.
I think they look like they do.
Yeah, the Tyrannosaur in the middle in the epic roar pose. I think that's supposed to be a tour vehicle under a foot, but it looks like it's got Bobcat or moving equipment tyres on it. And around the back we've got a goat on the reverse side of it as well, so just them light up function, yep. They're a little Jurassic Park statue.
Diorama, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what you got written in the notes here.
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate.
Yep. Pre-orders went up in January till March. they've got details here where to buy. I'm just going to click on more details and see if it actually says how big it is and all that sort of stuff. And that's just going to take me to their Facebook page. Iron Man, Spider-Man, Iron Man. I probably should have done this earlier. Batman. Where's the T-Rex man? Oh no, that's Elsa. Rightio, approximate height 15 to 16 centimetres high. Release date second quarter of this year. That's all it wants to tell me. Light up flame effects on the gates. Faithfully restoring the scenes in the movie. I don't remember the T-Rex being at the gates. They've got a global distributor, so that's alright. That means it should be easy to get. I'll have a look at it over the coming weeks and report back on the next minutes.
Yeah.
Years.
During most of your tour, the appropriate information will be automatically selected and displayed for you.
Hey, look!
Simply touch the area of the screen displaying the appropriate icon.
Are we gonna hit that?
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
What do they got in there? King Kong?
Coming up next, Jada Toys have given us a little glimpse of hope of maybe a bigger Explorer with a new Jurassic set for their Nano line. I've seen the Batman Nano and the Back to the Future Nano sets in my local toy store. Pretty basic Micro Machine size vehicles, but for the Jurassic line we're getting, of course, Jeep 18, Explorer 04, and the corporate helicopter that we see at the start, or see in Jurassic Park, and at one scene in The Lost World.
So these are kind of odd because, as far as I know, Mattel owns Matchbox, who has been doing, Hot Wheels. Wait, which one do they own?
Mattel have Hot Wheels because they do all the DC. That's why you have Aquaman.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you have Aquaman.
Yeah, so they've got, Mattel has Hot Wheels and has been doing very well with their line of Hot Wheel vehicles for Jurassic Park. So I'm not sure why Jada is even bothering.
Well, I will say that Explorer looks better than the one we got from from Hot Wheels, but it gives me hope that they've got the license from Ford and we're going to see a bigger version, because I've got the larger scale DeLoreans and that from Jada Toys, and they're fantastic in that scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have their rusty Jeep from when they got the Fallen Kingdom line, and I actually really enjoy it. I actually almost like it better than the actual Mattel one.
Oh, yeah, I'm upset that never got here, but a lot of the new stuff, a lot of Transformers are coming here as well, so hopefully they might do a reissue of that down the line. But yeah, interesting. They've got the Explorer, looks the correct logos and everything on it, yet they've got the red background one for the Jeep, where it should be the yellow as well on the doors.
Yeah.
But a free pack, I think it costs about $9. I don't know if that's US or what currency that's for. That's about what the other sets cost here, but at least some sort of new vehicles to come, and these nice and small. They can sit on your desk if you're still working at work, or fit in nicely around your display at home, not taking up a lot of space.
I read both of your books. I like the first one more, before you're on the island. You liked dinosaurs back then.
Well, back then they hadn't tried to eat me yet.
And lastly, we alluded to it earlier, we'd been talking last year, there'd been rumours of some sort of tabletop book coming for Jurassic Park or the Jurassic franchise, and on the 1st of Feb it became reality with photos coming up of a cover for a book that's not yet confirmed to be the original, the initial release cover for the book, but a Jurassic Park Ultimate Visual History, due out in October.
Yeah, so this, from what I've been finding out from people, will not be similar to the visual dictionaries that DK puts out for Star Wars. This will be more like, I think, those archival books that Lucasfilm periodically releases, where it's going to have like a ton of photos and anecdotes and stuff like that, and just general like pictures of concept art and production notes and schematics and pretty much anything from the Universal archives that Universal can dig up and put into this book. I think it's going to be similar to that, where like you'll have actual photos from the archives of Universal, along with anecdotes and explanations and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll just read this little blurb here. What they said is, the most comprehensive book about the Jurassic Park trilogy to date. Jurassic Park, The Ultimate Visual History, begins with an in-depth account of the making of Steven Spielberg's original film, so we guessed that the majority of it would probably be on Jurassic Park and not the sequels, but including rare and never seen before, behind-the-scene imagery and exclusive interviews with key creatives. Readers will then unearth the full history of the trilogy from The Lost World to Jurassic Park 3 through unprecedented access to the creative process behind the films. Fans will also find a fascinating look at the wider world of the saga, including video games, toys, comics and more, exploring a lasting legacy of the movies and their influence on pop culture. So it's not just going to be on the films. I don't think it says how many pages it's going to be, but it's going to cover a lot of the original trilogy.
From the photo here, it looks like it's going to be fairly
Yes.
thick, maybe kind of along the lines of the Winston Effect book.
Yep. It's currently up for pre-order on Amazon. I'd really love if they could show us some tease some pages on the inside.
I do know that, or not know, but I do hope that there will be more for kind of Jurassic Park 3, just because generally that one has been neglected in as far as special features and behind the scenes go. So, I mean, I know The Lost World has been more than, and I'm even saying this as a fan of The Lost World. I hope that they can throw everything that they can at us, but still, I hope that we get more from Jurassic Park 3 than what we've had in the past, because that's kind of been the black sheep of the trilogy, where it gets kicked around a little bit and nobody really wants to kind of acknowledge that it had a troubled production, or the fact that there's not really much production material available on the market for it. In every release, it always gets the least amount of behind-the-scenes featurettes. It's always got the least amount of production photos, and we know it's out there. I mean, we've seen the photos of what's out there. It's just it's going to take Universal to actually buck up and acknowledge that there's more to it than what the official story is. You know?
Yeah, that's the thing. At least for Jurassic Park and The Lost World, we got the making of books that dived a lot deeper, showed us a lot more things in production and that for the two films. There's still the little mysteries between the two that we'd love to get answers for, and the way some stuff's released, hey, we might get those answers in the future. But yeah, for Jurassic Park 3, there's a lot of stuff there. The debate's only just sparked up again about the whole Site C stuff with marketing for Jurassic Park 3, what that would have entailed, what it possibly could have been. Another island was Nublar Site C after San Diego was put on or postponed, all that sort of stuff, and of course whether or not the Spinosaurus back. Oh no.
But I mean, it does say here as a little blurb at the end of the outline that it's going to be the last world on the most epic saga in movie history, the definitive behind-the-scene book that fans have been waiting for, which is entirely true. Fans have been waiting for this for years. I mean, I know so many fans who have wanted this comprehensive behind-the-scenes book. It's kind of not exactly an art book, which I hear rumor might be something separate from what this will be, that the Jurassic World art book will be separate from this book itself, but it's that kind of quote-unquote visual dictionary that fans have always wanted. I've even drawn up fan art of what a possible visual dictionary by DK would look like. This won't be by DK. It's going to be by the people who did the Ghostbusters visual history. So it's going to be very comprehensive, very in-depth, and then I'm very much looking forward to it.
Have you pre-ordered it yet?
I have not. I have it on my Amazon watch list, but I was going to wait for till like October, because it doesn't come out till like end of October, according to Amazon. It's like October 26th or something. So I was going to wait for like October to pre-order it.
Yeah, I do like that they've mentioned that it is something fans have been waiting for. Hopefully it's aimed more at fans and a lot less repeaty stuff. If you do have those original making of books, they don't retread ground. There. Because like I joked at one stage, I'll probably just copy that and put in a new book and add a couple of new things to it or something. But I don't even know what would be the one thing you'd hope would be in there that we haven't seen already, just to throw you under the bus.
Well, we know that Universal in the past couple of years have kind of been rifling through their archives, and I'm starting to think that this may have been what it was for. We know during the 25th anniversary they were showing things off, like the original cryo can they were able to find in their archives, the original Jurassic Park 1 dig site, raptor prop, the skeleton itself they were able to recover. They were able to recover like a bunch of blueprints and schematics for buildings that had been designed for the trilogy. So I'm very, very much expecting to see a lot of that stuff in here. And actually last week I contacted Todd Marks to see if he might actually have some of the or if he might have the trailer, the dinosaur screensaver thing playthrough that was in the trailer for The Lost World. And he said that he didn't have it on him, that that is at Man Consulting, and it's buried up in their archive somewhere, and they've not been able to find it yet. But the fact that they're looking for it actually tells me that perhaps I'm not the only one interested in seeing it. That perhaps Universal has had interest in recovering this material for us.
I've got to breathe again. It's there, it's somewhere. Oh man, if that stuff, if they archived that stuff and didn't just delete it, because there's a lot of that on-screen imagery from the Lost World, particularly just the cycling through the different animals with the stats on the trailers, all the stuff on the communications computers when Nick gets there and calls for help, all the InGen data there. Yeah,
I mean, which makes me wonder who else or where else Universal has been digging around with, because I mean, like for example with Todd Marks, he has a lot of his old work just stored in archives on floppy disks in like a file cabinet someplace. But I mean, there's just so much material out there that the artist might have, the artist might not have. I know that a couple months ago, I think sometime last year, it was not John Bell, but one of the concept artists for The Lost World released a bunch of his work on his portfolio website. Again, somebody might have asked for it, and he just went looking for it, and he decided, oh, this was pretty cool. Let me just show this up there, see if anybody picks up on it. Which, of course, fans did. It got picked up by Behind the Gates right away, and they reposted it on their Facebook page. But the fact that we're starting to see this random uptick in archival footage just randomly coming to light, it's kind of making me wonder now if the visual history has been getting worked on for longer than we realized.
Oh, this book cannot come quick enough.
And I'm probably hyping it up to more than it will be, and I'm probably going to get this thing, open it up, and it'd be just like a bunch of stuff we've already seen, and I'm going to be like...
Damn it. We've only got ourselves to blame for that.
It's still fun to speculate.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Hello? Seriously? Sorry, folks. Ride's closed. Everyone needs to proceed to the monorail and exit to the... Come on, guys. I just work here.
Now that news is over, let's have a bit of a discussion about Camp Cretaceous Season 2. Before we get to that, though, there's been some new information that's come to light about Season 1. The Jurassic Park podcast recently had an interview up with one of the executive producers, Scott Kramer, on some new info and some information we hadn't known before. Manticore was to be Camp Cretaceous' bison. The Dominion script hadn't been finished yet when they were making it, so they didn't want to include bison in case it was being used for Dominion, which we sort of guessed at the time, but did wonder why they didn't just go with bison in Season 1, but that sort of explains it for us.
Yeah, I mean, I could see not wanting to step on toes with future projects because, I mean, like, bison has been pretty much the big the big antagonist against InGen for all of the books, so it makes sense that if you could only kind of guess that it would end up being used eventually.
Yeah. Plus, if you are hoping to expand this world into more films and everything else, then you can introduce more than just the one corporate challenger rival. Otherwise, yeah, it just makes the world seem so small. Looking at you, Star Wars, always going back to Tatooine. Toro isn't the Carnotaurus that we see at the end of Fallen Kingdom. Fallen Kingdom hadn't been released yet when they started filming Season 1, so they didn't have a chance to write that in to link them up. So as far as they're concerned, they're not the same animal. The explosion heard on the monorail was the other monorail, not Charlie getting hit by the rocket launcher. Leading into Season 2, Colin had told them that now they had an open reign and no timelines in the film to stick to. But he also said that they had 6 months until the opening of Fallen Kingdom when that takes place, so we'd always speculate on that opening the Fallen Kingdom, how far after the events of the evacuation that took place. We know once that opening scene sort of goes, we're 4 years later. But it's sort of weird, all that destruction we see in the start of that film, it's only 6 months since the park was evacuated.
Well, I'm starting to wonder, and this may go into spoilers for the end of this.
Oh, we're late talking about it, so spoiler warnings out the window. We're going to talk about spoilers, so we're not going to wait until the end, so go for it.
Alright, so yeah, E750, it's a unknown experiment that has been literally put on ice by Wu. So it was mentioned first in Season 1 when Brooklyn is going through Wu's computer. She sees something that says E750 and she audibly repeats what she's seeing on screen. But it looks like Season 3 will actually see the reveal of what E750 is, and I'm wondering if whatever this thing is, if it fighting the T-Rex for dominance on Main Street will be the cause of some of the destruction that we see at the opening of Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, well, they specifically said in the interview that they didn't want it to be obvious what was in that tank at the end. I found it weird that it was frozen, then all of a sudden it thawed out and we got the roar or the screech. So whatever it is impervious to cryogenic freezing.
I mean, in a franchise where cloning dinosaurs is the main crux of it, I would imagine cryogenetics isn't too far-fetched an idea.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. But it does make me think about Wu's dialogue in Jurassic World when he's talking about you think we're going into some mad science here where this is showing that, yeah, Masrani had every right to shut you down.
That's a big yes.
So Season 2 takes place only a day or two after the end of Season 1, so we get straight into Season 2 with them running back from the harbour and just losing Ben.
I do think fans took that that reveal a bit literally, though, because the entire season doesn't actually take place only a day or two after the end of season 1.
No.
You can actually see them making scratch marks, and the scratch marks tally up to 22 days, so it's been actually like 22, 23 days since the evacuation of Jurassic World that the majority of season 2 takes place.
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. Well, 3 to 4 weeks under that. But yeah, we do see when they're building Camp Kenji, it does spring up overnight seemingly, but it's been a while, which also leads to later on when we see Ben and Lumpy. Even though we only see one night shot, I think it is over a few weeks as well, so we get that that bonding between them, and then the breakup, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
They wanted us to see more of New Blood, not seeing the films, which one of my biggest gripes about season 2 is where is any old park assets? We wanted to see it, but we never got to see it.
I do think they do a good job of that, though, and I do think that season 2 is interesting specifically because we see a lot more of the park than we even saw in season 1, where it's kind of, all we see in season 1 is basically that we hadn't seen before was the what was it called?
The Jungle River.
Well, we saw a glimpse at in Jurassic World. Same with the zip line, where you could see it going on in the background there. No, I meant the well, the other thing was the genetics research lab.
Yeah. Well, they added to it here. Now we have a random vehicle garage out in the middle of nowhere with a World War II bike in it, a sidecar. We'll get to it. The veterinary station, which I was glad to see because it sort of has that infrastructure and design of what we've seen in Fallen Kingdom with some of the barred fences and that, so we know it's Jurassic World era and not something older. One thing I did like that they mentioned, they wanted to show the animals as open and doing their own thing and not monsters.
Yes.
Putting forward the point that these animals are animals, they're not just there to chase people and kill.
Yes, I definitely picked up on that from the get-go. I love seeing Rexy just hunting out there hunting and not just randomly chasing people the whole time, you know? I mean, in fact, she pretty much ignores the people for the Parasaurolophus in those first couple minutes of season 2. And it's like, well, duh, the Parasaurolophus weighs 7 tons and the kids weigh like 85 pounds at the most.
Yep. And when you're hunting, you're focused on that animal.
Yeah.
He also confirmed in talking about season 2 that it's Grim that gets shot by Tiff. I'm pretty sure we don't get the kid's name, the Baryonyx triplets. They don't give them names, but we know the toys have got names, and apparently it was Grim.
We do get that throwaway line from, I think it was Sammy or Brooklyn. One of them said they named the Baryonyxes those names after a trio of burglars from that show they all watch.
Oh, okay.
But we never actually see which one is which, unlike the toys.
Alrighty, I missed that bit. Confirmation the animation in season 2 is identical. Yes, they had they'd been able to improve the process and that, but it was exactly the same. I had a discussion with you about how much some of this stuff looks like stop motion, or just how good some of the dinosaur animations look. And seemingly, I thought it was better than season 1, but obviously it's the same. So
I don't know. I have to agree with you. It looked way better than season 1. The animation is smoother. The details are way, way better. I mean, like some of those establishing shots of like the sunrises and the weather stuff, it was just beautiful. I mean, the way that they lit the models, the way that they detailed the models, I thought it was a huge jump in quality. And I actually like the quality from season 1.
There's still some of the things like the randomness of the jungle and that, but I don't mind that if they're putting all their focus into the animals and making them look as good as they can. I don't care if we sort of just have our generic jungle backgrounds and that some of the time, and the grass and that.
And I mean, I was actually showing some of these stills that I had screen capped to my mom, and she actually went to school for fashion artistry. I'm not sure what the exact term is, but where they draw fashion models for magazine and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, she went in just as photography was taking over.
Oh no!
And went into accounting instead. But anyway, she was blown away by the quality and detail of these models I was showing her. I mean, I was just showing her random pictures that I had done with the HAP article for Jurassicpedia, and she was like, I gotta watch this show. So I've been binging that with her the past couple nights.
Nice. It has been fun actually watching the show with someone else, not just sitting by myself watching it. You actually get to have a bit more of that experience and enjoy watching it. As you said before, there is a time jump when Yasmina's sketching out the treehouse to when it's almost built. They don't have an exact time, but they say it's about 6 to 8 weeks. And overall, the season covers about 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned E750 before, it being in season 2, episode 2 of season 1 on Woo's computer. I always thought, sort of just looking at the shadow in there, it looks like, I don't even know if they're a real animal, but sort of like the leech with the little legs underneath, like a millipede sort of thing. I didn't even think dinosaur when I seen it. I thought it was something completely different. So
it's clearly the Arlex.
Well, I think a lot of fan speculation now. They seem to be coming to the Gigantosaurus, or how do you say it?
Giganotosaurus.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, and that's because we've been told that this is supposed to tie into Dominion. More on that later, but.
I doubt it's the Giganotosaurus. I've seen people throwing out like Spinoraptor and other wild hybrids that I think people are just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. At this point, I firmly believe that whatever it is, they purposely designed that block of ice so that it did not look like anything definitive. I mean, heck, even just looking at those spines that we could see, I could almost say like Kentrosaurus or something like that.
Yep.
Which would just be a small alternate stegosaur.
Yeah. The other thing too about if the guys that were on Nublar in Fallen Kingdom were so desperate to get a piece of the Indominus, why was this not approached? I'd hope that they weren't the only team, and there's maybe some retconning where in season 1 we've seen what was going on while Jurassic World was happening in maybe the end of season 3 or season 4. We get they weren't the only team there. The helicopter had dropped off another team that were going to get this asset as well, and it just wasn't brought up in the film.
Well, remember, in the first season, we did get that person land and use the drone to pick up data from Sammy, so I don't think Manticore is going to go away here. I think they're going to actually come back and be the main antagonist for the 3rd season.
Well, can we address the fact that drones can only fly for a couple of miles at best? Whoever's piloting that must be very close on a ship or on the island already.
Oh, they were on the island. We saw that.
Yeah. I thought we were going to run into them.
I think that's going to be interesting to see too, is how they resolve that.
Yeah. Well, seeing the trailer, I assume that's who we ran into instead of Mitch and Tiff. It was Manticore there trying to get stuff, but no. But that'll get us into... oh no, one last thing before we get there. The writers had seen fans' love of Baby Bumpy, and them themselves had compared it to Grogu, but knew for the story they wanted to tell Bumpy needed to grow up, which, as we'll get there, no longer Bumpy, Spiky.
No,
she got big.
He is no longer a cinnamon roll of cuteness. She grows up to be a full-fledged Ankylosaurus. Very quickly, I might add.
Yes, those rapid growth hormones, or whatever she's been given, working pretty fast. So, getting on to Season 2, Episode 1, we're just going to briefly go through the synopsis for each episode. We've got enough to discuss about the episodes. I'm not going to go for a deep dive. You can head over to jurassic-peter.com where articles for each episode are going up, much like Season 2. At the Jurassic Park podcast had full podcasts covering each episode for Season 1. I'm sure in the coming time they'll do the same for Season 2 as well, if you want a deep dive into it. My notes here started very long for episode 1 and started dwindling and getting shorter and shorter as we went through, as I realised what this show was going to be and not what I was hoping it was going to be. But again, just keeping that that introduction, the emblem logo, the Jurassic World logo and the Universal logo as well. Just I love it on the start of each episode, more so than Rexy bursting through the gates. But episode 1, titled A Beacon of Hope, finds the kids in Main Street trying to find a distress beacon to call for help. Straight off the bat, they didn't even have emergency bunkers, so why are there distress beacons hidden on Main Street for such emergencies?
The weirder part is that they're, like you said, they're hidden. So, I mean, like, what good does a distress beacon do if you have to open up like 100 fake trees to find it?
Yeah, and unfortunately, in Season 1 we see that, Episode 1 we see that Rexy has been scavenging some of these hollow trees and making herself a nest in her old enclosure.
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting because, I mean, it's not really brought up that she's pregnant or anything. It just seems to be that she's instinctually building herself a nest.
Mm. Yeah, and we sort of get this shot at the start of just the Jurassic World without humans. We get to see the upside-down G-Wagon sitting out in the jungle, the Brachiosaur and the monorail and the stegosaurs in the redwoods, which was great to see, just walking around. But as we said before, they wanted animals to be animals, and here she is. She's not out posing for movie poster covers or anything else. She's building herself a nest. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In the one place I suppose her being in Tyrannosaur Kingdom, that's where she's spent the last few years, so that's probably where she thinks or still calls home. Maybe still wait for those goats to come out of that door in the wall, but...
Well, she didn't seem to wait very long because we see her hunting a T-Rex. Parasaurolophus in the opening. So
yeah,
she got hungry and fast. And then, like you said, they treat the dinosaurs like they're just regular animals. The T-Rex barely even pays the kids any attention half the time. You know?
Yeah, and I wonder, like, obviously she would have done this as well after the island was initially evacuated in '93. Whether that area is now Starbucks and she can't go back there or something, or just lost some memory of it and now she's in this new location. But it does cause a problem for our young children as they're running around trying to find this beacon and realised she's still there.
Well, I mean, and we've discussed this before, that being a smaller island and a T-Rex, the apex predator, she has that whole island to herself now. So, I mean, like you said, Main Street has been her home for like the last almost 15 years. So that's probably where she's going to stick around to. That's her claimed immediate territory. But she can really go wherever she wants. And we do see her doing that a couple times in the season.
Yeah.
Like at the end where she's hunting in I think it's Gallimimus Valley or something. It's near the watering hole that we see her hunting.
Which she knows was a good source of food. She's been there and done it before. There's the emphasis here in the episode 2 that there's no power. Everything's turned off. We know later episodes we do get either cryogenic stuff leaking out or refrigerant leaking out and chilling flowers, but the emphasis is no power here. I know Lowry turned power down the control room before he left, but I'm guessing he powered down... I can't recall if we see the lights turn off in Main Street as well when he shuts all that off, but...
I can't recall if they do either, but I imagine that Lowry probably would have turned them off before they got off the island, regardless. You know? Yeah. I mean, at the end of Jurassic World there, it seemed pretty much definitive. He was just shutting the entire park down in general, not just that one room.
Yep. I love how they... Well, with the power, they searching around for food and come across frozen pizza, which, okay, the refrigeration systems obviously are still working, but I love how...
not necessarily. I mean, for example, the way a refrigerator works is that it's sealed so that to keep the cold in and the heat out. And even if you have like a power outage, you can still keep your freezer. If you don't open that door, the stuff inside will stay frozen for at least up to like 48 hours. So, I mean, it's perfectly logical they could have found frozen pizza.
Yeah, we did say this is only like the day after the evacuation, so... but I do love how we get the compies come in here, sort of, they take the pizza for themselves, and we start to get them... Yeah, we start to get a bit scary vibe from them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were real sweet when you had people around to protect you, but now when you don't have a pillowcase to stuff them in, suddenly, and they're sticking around together, it's not so fun anymore.
Yeah, Kenji's definitely grown me. I love him in a lot of these episodes, and the photos of Wu in his turtlenecks, which was fantastic. All the Polaroids they had of him, of Wu. I do love too how they Darius finds the Jurassic World Discovery Walk, which just seems like, we've mentioned before, there's dinosaurs on the island. Go out and see the dinosaurs. Why are you sitting here in this little Discovery Walk seeing plaques or holograms with the dinosaurs on them? But again, just building Main Street up to be a little bit more than what we've seen in the films.
Yeah.
And we get the return of the research sign here too as they're driving or moving along. But later we see the same sign for the dock, and it's got the same research bunker on it. So it seems like they're using the same signs across the island.
Yeah, probably maybe even just reusing assets for the animation, you know.
Yeah, I found it odd that the emergency beacon was in the Jurassic Park font, but I think we do have the font existing in World for some of the like Gyrosphere and all that, Gyrosphere Station. A lot of the signs now are using that font in World.
Well, we even had it in World in like the first movie too.
Yeah. And I still find it weird they're playing a Jurassic Park theme for the end credits when this is supposed to be a Jurassic World centric thing, but. Yeah, anything else on episode 1? They get their hands on the beacon and send a call, but we don't know if it gets answered.
Well, it's weird because it gets received, which implies that somebody accepted the signal and acknowledged that it is a signal, but then they're still there for 20 days. So it's like, did the person, whoever received the signal, go looking for them, but they weren't at Main Street, so they just turned around and left?
Well, when we come across Mitch and Tiff later, they actually say, yes, we got your signal, but then it's revealed later on when the curtain drops on them that, no, it wasn't them that received it, so... Yeah, there's still someone else that played it we haven't seen yet, and maybe Season 3 will look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe, Elliot Wu?
Oh man, could you imagine if they brought him in? Episode 2, The Art of Chill. The kids split up to build a treehouse and search the nearby medical centre for supplies. I love how they still haven't made Yasmina a crutch. She's still limping around. A set of crutches or something for her to lean on, take the weight off that leg.
Well, I mean, the electric pole that they had was used to blow up Toro, so I don't think they ever actually went back for that.
Yeah, true. With a lot of this episode spent around the old Camp Cretaceous site, we're back there to build Camp Kenji. We still don't know how the Indominus brought these tree houses down. Them being so high off the ground.
I mean, they were like way out of biting height, so I mean, it's like she either climbed a tree or she threw something at it, you know?
Yeah, and we'd mentioned when we seen that concept art with the trees, the hollows, and maybe some of these trees weren't real trees, they were just constructed to make it look like trees to have the accommodations and all that hanging on, but there's no tree debris, there's only camp debris, so I don't think, unless we get someone having a nightmare in season 3, we might not even get an answer on that, which is a shame.
Speaking of that, I love the mermaid dream that Kenji keeps having, and that first night they spend on Main Street, he's like in a half sleep state, and he turns on the radio and goes meh, 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 meh.
He has become my favourite character in the series. Interesting thing not that come up in that interview earlier, we still don't know who his father is and why he knows so much about the island.
Well, his father seems to just be wealthy, so probably plays golf with Simon Masrani or something.
Yeah, he knows a lot about the island, but...
Well, he said that his father owns a penthouse on the island, so presumably they use that as a frequent vacation spot.
Yeah, and if he was a bored teen, he'd go around and get up to all sorts of mischief. Go, I know I would.
I mean, like, for example, my cousin and their parents have a vacation house in Florida, so they frequently, in the summer and winter, go down to Florida and spend time there, you know?
But we get to the herbivore vet station. Even though there's more than just the herbivores there, we get to see a couple of stegosaurs. There's the ceratopsian.
Oh, the Nasutoceratops?
Nasutoceratops, that's the one, yeah. Yep, I forgot it already. It's there, and we discover one of the baryonyx is locked up as well, and obviously when the island was evacuated, these animals were left behind in the cages, and we get, once again, the trope in films, it just wants to be free, let's let it out. Because of course it won't try and eat us afterwards.
And of course Darius, being all of us, let's not.
It's got teeth.
Yeah. But I do that the implication that they just left with all these animals in these cages kind of brings interesting implications for Sorna. Like, when they evacuated Sorna, did some animals get left behind? I mean, as in the Lost World, where they're just... If they ever went to the lab compound and explored it, are they going to just find random cages with the... With like the emaciated corpses of dinosaurs still laying inside them?
Well, that's going back to Jurassic Park 3. A lot of the cages we see in the kennel, the doors were still closed. You can imagine if there was bones or animal carcasses still in the cages, it'd be pretty dark.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with the embryos floating in the tanks where they're just rotted corpses with wires attached to them.
Yep. And before DPG and all that sort of stuff, we'd always wondered about the baby raptors in Jurassic Park as well, in those incubators, and they just stopped and left. How many other infants that were relying, or animals in general, that were relying on human interaction or human intervention to keep them alive, and all of a sudden those humans aren't there anymore. As I mentioned earlier, all these cages the animals are sort of stored in. Same infrastructure what we see in Fallen Kingdom with the staging area for Wheatley's team and that, so that sort of confirms that it's all Jurassic World era stuff and not Jurassic Park era. It's weird. Yasmin just pulls a nice big crisp clean bit of paper out of a seemingly back pocket before she starts drawing the schematic of the treehouse. Through the whole series, we see them go near rivers and waters, but they're always... I know kids are dirty, I have too, but can't you go for a swim and clean off? Even after the time jump, they're still covered in mud, and the animation models are just always dirty.
Well, that, and I mean, you can see that they've been taking showers, so I mean, at some point I would have probably used the clean water supply to have washed my clothes, you know? I mean, it doesn't need to be with soap, but I mean, you can just, even if you just like take a rock and just kind of like knead the mud out of it, it's got to be better than just staying around in nasty, dirty clothes.
Yeah, yep. I'm surprised they're not all running around wearing giant leaves.
Well, it is
Jumanji style.
They do have to keep it PG.
Yeah, yep. And of course, at the end of the episode, we get the little reveal of the frozen flowers and some sort of humming noise that the Brooklyn can hear. No, for some reason, no one else can hear either. But that takes us straight into episode 3, the watering hole, which has the girls going out and search for those frozen flowers again, and the boys unblocking the stream. and taking a cue out one of the Dinotopia novels here of walking up a dry creek bed, finding the blockage and removing it. So all the communities along the river downstream can have water again. In this case, it's to fill the watering hole for all the animals, herbivores and carnivores. Which, when we see the stream first up, I just assume that the power's off, so there's no pumps pumping water to have the stream run.
You know, that would have been a good novel reference, because that was, if you remember in the first novel, the waterfall was artificial.
Yeah.
Which I never quite understood, because the stream they were riding on was entirely real. You know?
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't the source of the stream. But they come down the stream, then went over the waterfall, so it's part of the river system. So if that water stopped, then technically the river would have stopped. Unless they had dammed it. Well, we know there's a lake at the boathouse where they spend the night. Maybe there's a dam further up that they could. But that, to have a river suddenly stop, it takes time, especially when they're travelling downstream for a lot of time. Anyway, that's a discussion to have for another time.
We'll make that a Jurassic mystery.
Yeah. That's not how rivers work, even man-made ones. But we get that rumbling sound in the background. I thought it was Mount Cebu's making itself known, but we don't really get a explanation about what the sound is. We only get the frozen flowers and the coldness that's venting out from the tunnels underground. And we get a version 2 of Sarah and the Stegosaurs here, with the Stegosaurs going after the kids as well. No hollow log this time, though. I
find it surprising that in this entire season we didn't get kind of rumblings from Cebu.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a point where I was even convinced at one point that there was a shot we got at night where we could see smoke or steam or something starting to come out of it. Turns out it was not. It was not only was it a cloud that was just over the island, it was a reused shot from the first season. So they are reusing imagery here.
There you go. Episode 3 is also where we get the Ceratosaurus make its appearance. Not quite like we've seen it before, not as lot muted colours, a lot more greys, not as much vibrance with that red on its top. We get the genetics lab that's been cleared out. So obviously, when the engine cleared out Wu, they obviously raided this lab as well to get most of the stuff out.
It looks like they were very much in a hurry when they did it, because there's just like pieces of amber just littering across the floor, and random sheets of paper, and even a key card sitting in an envelope just laying around.
Yep, which will Chekhov's key card that we'll get some use out of later. We get Darius making his own field guide, of course. It's something we'll do. And
that is something that I kind of felt was interesting that is going on, was Darius kind of becomes a kid Richard Levine from the Lost World novel. He's just sitting, he doesn't even care that, as Kenji reminds him, everything's artificial, it's not real, it's not a natural environment. Darius doesn't care. He's still very ecstatic to study it anyway. Everything he's seeing to him is real.
Yep.
Just like on the novel, or just like in The Lost World, the novel, Richard Levine is studying these animals as if they were actually a real ecosystem, even though there's far too many predators on the island. The DX virus is screwing up all kinds of behaviors. And so it's presented as an artificial environment, but the characters don't care. They're happy enough to study it anyway, you know?
Yeah, something I wish we had more in the films. or here, but it's good to see we're getting it here with Darius. And as of episode 3, we don't have a conclusion about that hum or the freezing. Episode 4, Salvation. After seeing smoke in the distance, the group come across a pair of eco-tourists, seemingly unaware the park is closed. This is where things start to change. We need our antagonists for the series, and we got them here with Mitch and Tiff. I love how it's weird how the kids are running from the Ceratosaurus we're seeing at the end of the last episode, and Yasmina's foot just suddenly gets better and she can run away from the animal.
Well, they did make a splint for her for her foot, so she's able to put weight on it.
Yeah.
And it was just a sprain, so it's like it probably healed a lot in the last 20 days.
But we get Mitch and Tiff here. I found odd that Mitch was dressed a lot like Grant, and maybe that was trying to throw him off that he's a good guy and not evil.
Yeah.
And I thought Hap sort of done his best Dita Stark impression as well for a lot of it. But in real, like, yes, they say they're tourists here, even if they are poachers. They've done well to survive this long on an island of predators. They're cooking bacon and eggs for breakfast. We'll go back to the whole Sarah saying how these animals can smell halfway across the island.
Well, I think it's funny some of the faces we actually see from the kids as they're eating breakfast. Some of them I think have actually gotten some meme traction in the Jurassic Park fandom.
Well, then they mention they've got electric showers and heated toilets as well. Again, you're in the tropics, but just the assets, the camp, all the stuff, all these I thought I had it written down there. Yerkins, or whatever they call these tents.
Yeah.
They're all wood frame with canvas and massive benches to eat on, and poor Hap must have been carting this stuff through the jungle for weeks to set up. Plus, we get that flare shot. I think it's them that fired a flare, but it's purple, not red, which isn't right to attract the Stratosaurus anyway. But
I thought it looked red on my screen.
Oh, okay, yeah, might have just been mine. Before the turn to poachers, they did remind me a lot of the Kirbys. I was getting the Kirby vibe from them.
Yeah, I mean, like you said here, Hap does kind of look like a mix of just a rando action figure from the Lost World plus Deeper Star.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because they do a Roland with him where they present him as a bad guy, but he actually kind of turns out to be a pretty decent person.
You do have to ask the question though, if he is trying to help him and that he does come off rather villainous for the early part before the other shoe drops. But
I mean, like I said, it's presented in that way where you're getting it from the kid's point of view, where this guy, he's just kind of gruff and rough around the edges, but he actually turns out to be, as they would call, a hard ass with a heart of gold.
Yeah, yep. And of course, that's when Ben and Spikey, I'm going to keep on calling it Spikey, it's not Buff anymore, Ben and Spikey saved the day by knocking poor Hap across the head with a stick. The stick, or was it the shock prod? He gets belled in the head anyway.
It's just a stick.
Yeah. Because
They pick up the shock prod after he comes to.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny because, I mean, as I've seen some people call Ben, he's, at this point, Benbow. Rambo Ben. He's got the bandana and everything.
Yeah. And the mud, that takes us into episode 5, titled Brave, where we take 5 from the main story and witness the gripping trials of survival of Ben after his fall from the monorail. All the backstory, what happened there, he fell, he got picked up by a Pteranodon and carried and fell. Little JP free-ish there. I would have loved if he got dropped into a nest, but no, he just got dropped onto the ground from a less height. Getting tailed by compies again, compies making themselves a threat. I was joking he'd better find himself a water truck to hide in, but Bumpy saves him from a couple of occurrences with the compies. But then when he comes to, he looks down and faints again, so I don't know if he's got a dislocated ankle or what. Or maybe he's just seeing how dirty he is, because he was a bit of a clean freak, always sanitising in the first season.
I think that was actually the joke of it, yeah.
Yep. We get to see Toro making a nest also.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird, just that circle of rocks and bones of its nest it's building. And one criticism I did have for season 1 was the fact that Toro couldn't keep up with the kids running around in the underground tunnels and that. Okay, maybe she was running on concrete and that, but here she is out in her, air quotes, natural environment, and she still can't stay on her feet. She's still falling over.
To be fair, I mean, she is an extra crispy chicken source at this point. She's probably in real pain right now.
Yeah, still suffering from the last run-in, which, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, no, I get that.
And And you can even see that expressed with the animation where, I mean, we didn't really get a good look of it at the end of season 1 because she was in the dark and in this haze and smoke, and she just kind of posed there and roared for a second before moving off. But in season 2, we kind of get a real good look of the wound she's sporting, and she, like I said, has been extra crispy. The animation kind of reflects the fact that she's been burnt and the fact that she actually looks crispy.
Yeah, well, she doesn't have much more time to suffer because Ben, as you said before, goes Benbow and goes after her with a spear and kills Toro.
I'm not sure if she was actually killed. I think she just kind of fell down that cliff and limped off again. I think we'll see her again because she looked like she was recovering, but again, really hurt from the interaction. One thing I did like, though, was, as you say, Spiky, at this point, we can see when she confronts Toro, she slams her club against the ground, which is something I always kind of thought would be something ankylosaurs would do as a kind of threat display, would be to slam their big heavy club against the ground and kind of try to intimidate the adversary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't recall. I think Jurassic World, where we're about to get to now, if the minutes there, I think they do swing around and do their swings, but I don't think they strike the ground. No,
they really didn't kind of have a confrontation. The Indominus just went in there and wrecked shit up.
Yeah. Yep.
Snapping necks, slicing legs, not taking prisoners.
How do you feel about Ben riding Toro like a bull?
Gonna ride this bull by the horns.
Enough said. Yeah, I don't recall seeing Toro actually get up, so I have to rewatch that scene now. I thought she was down, and she stayed down, but if she limped away, then yes, she lives to fight another day.
Yeah.
But we also get confirmation from Ben at the end of the episode that Mitch and Tiff are bad guys, which takes us into episode 6, Misguided. Kenji, Ben, and Brooklyn go on a motorbike ride with Hap and Darius. With Hap as Darius, Sammy, and Yasmina discover a dark secret. So this is when we get the reveal, the vehicle maintenance garage in the middle of the jungle with that bike and the action departure from that maintenance building as it explodes and they fly through the air.
I did like the slow-mo we get of Ben applying hand sanitizer while he has the explosion going on in the background.
There's a motorcycle there, but they're only using bicycle helmets for this and other parts, obviously the bike as well, which was weird.
I'm surprised why we have this motorcycle. Like you said, it's kind of almost like a World War II era motorcycle plus the sidecar, and it doesn't really make sense. So why would this random outpost have an antique motorcycle with a sidecar? That'd be something like, and I know that a lot of fans speculated that it was Owen's motorcycle when we first saw the trailer drop, but it turned out not to be. It's just a random motorcycle with a sidecar that doesn't really seem to belong there.
No, something created for the action doesn't make a lot of sense, especially what we see of Main Street at the end too, where there's a lot of stuff there that wasn't there when the fight happened.
I mean, just thinking about it, a ATV would have made much more sense because we know that they're using them to get around the island, or even that kind of golf cart gator type four-wheeler thing that we see got crashed outside the old visitor center in Jurassic World. Something like that, and any of those would have been completely applicable for the scenes that they used this for.
Yep, we know they're there, but no, they went down that path for some reason. This is where we get I've got dead Triceratops head blankets, and the Pseudoceratops head under the blanket too, when we learn what Mitch and
Sinoceratops,
Tiff...
I think.
Yeah, when we learn what Mitch and Tiff's real intentions are, which is, again, a little bit dark, knowing that there's a head under there, and the size of it too, it'd have to be a baby.
Yeah.
One interesting thing here too, Mitch is saying he got a ACU tablet, he brought it off the internet, thinking the island network would be able to show him where all the animals were to hunt, but the network's down. A little bit of a callback to the Lost World novel where Levine's got the InGen computers and was hoping to use them to find Site B. We also get the confirmation here that Isla Nublar is under UN quarantine. The dinosaurs have been abandoned by Masrani, forgotten. So what we see in the start of Fallen Kingdom, where no one's been to the island, Masrani's in damage control because of Simon's death, which makes me wonder how they're policing that. If there's, we've got a repeat of Sauna where we've got Navy and that Navy boats patrolling the area of the Coast Guard.
I think at this point that's probably why they entered it at night with no lights on. They probably would have made dock at the east dock that we see them at, and then kind of quietly snuck into the island. That's why I always kind of thought they were operating mostly at night, as we see later on in the movie, and then resting during the day so that they don't draw attention to themselves. Then again, they do light a campfire. So they're obviously not the smartest of people.
Yeah. I do love, after the vehicle garage explosion, we get them on the I think Brooklyn's driving the sidecar, and we'll lose the baryonyx in the long grass. Never mind. It was only a couple of feet deep. Did like that as a little Lost World reference there, where you're not supposed to go in the long grass, but they did, and it didn't help him anyway.
The next couple hours here that we have with these next couple episodes kind of bother me, because in a way they almost make the island feel small, because it feels like they're traversing miles of the island within like minutes, and it just shouldn't be.
Yeah, definitely by that last episode they're Brooklyn's catching up to the others that have been out for a long time in vehicles. I don't care how direct the tunnels are underground, there's still some geographical issues there. But we get the don't shoot the Stegosaurus, and the Stegosaurus, again being an animal and a herbivore being dangerous again, comes at him, and good little bit there.
I did like I'm not sure if anybody else caught it, but there was a King Kong 1933 reference in that scene.
Oh, I remember you posting about that.
Yeah, they frame it with Mitch and Tiff pointing their weapons at the Stegosaurus. The Stegosaurus's position is flipped from the 1933 movie, but the framing and position of the way the scene is set up is very similar.
Yeah, again, we've mentioned before, just these nice little callbacks that someone in making this is fans of some of this stuff, like moving on into oh no, not yet. We get, I think it's in the next episode 7, where we get that shot you're talking about in the last minutes about Brooklyn in the Jeep, and you can see that mountain range in the background.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder why Hap's not riding the motorcycle instead of Brooklyn. He might be able to be a bit more capable, but of course we've got to have his sacrifice.
All that, and as the kids repeatedly say, they don't trust him.
Yep. So we get Hap dying. He bails over the side to distract the baryonyx while the kids get away. We don't see a body. We hear the snarls and we hear him yell, but that's about it. Which
I think it was definitely implied.
Yeah. You could say he survived if there's a crevice or something he was able to get into, or if they want the character to come back for season 3. But I think it's implied he bites the dust there. And I love how they keep on bringing out this paper map, and it's still showing the lagoon in the centre of the island. I know we rabbit on about that a lot, but it's funny to see. Moving on into episode 7, One Step. Brooklyn, Ben, Kenji, and Yasmina discover a more realistic control room, and Darius leads Mitch and Tiff to the main street. One thing I didn't mention about last episode is when Tiff's switch flips. She, after they don't shoot the stegosaur, she gives me sort of Selena Kyle from Batman '89 vibes. Just, she's not all there mentally. She's one crazy woman.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see her eyes start twitching.
Yep, and the hair, and the kids don't help that situation out as much here as they get access to this control room, which, again, they find a refrigerated section of the underground tunnels where supposedly we must be near the E750 door here, but we discussed a while ago about how Colin went to Universal Studios Florida and was underwhelmed by the control room there of just being a room with a couple of dudes sitting in it, and here we seem to have that as well for some Main Street operations.
Yeah, well, this almost seems to be like a backup control room that they'd have in case, like, they needed to have a bunker yet still run the park, you know?
Yeah, yep. It's still not explained too if this is... They come to the door and they can hear the humming, but when we're inside it's not. I wonder if that's just a generator running or something underground that's making that sound.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. I mean, it's like... Well, we also know that E750 is on ice, so I think that the hum is originating from the generators and air conditioners being used to freeze this block of ice, like kind of like an air conditioner that's running perpetually.
Yeah, it's weird on the E750 door and the door for this control room too. There's just a like a monorail sign, caution sign, which sort of just reusing the same imagery around the area. It looks like, but we get a push to close reference here with Kenji, which is fantastic on the control panel too. He pumps up the primer lever.
He keeps pushing and closing.
Well, I don't know what he's doing. He pushes the button and everything comes on. Then he just sits there and keeps on pushing the button. And of course,
I don't
somehow
think he knows what he's doing.
No, but that causes the short with the cryo tank, and obviously lets the E750, whatever it is, out. We just wonder why this power button's causing that. But it's just weird that he keeps on pressing it, and why that button's connected to the tank.
Well, I think it's connected to the breaker, which when he keeps pressing it, he means he keeps sending jolts to the breaker, which is what causes it to overexert itself and short out.
Yep.
Well, like if you went into your breaker box at home and just kept flipping the main power switch back and forth, eventually something's going to break.
Well, there goes the computers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or light bulbs or refrigerator or something, you know?
Yep. It's interesting here too, by turning that main park power on, not only does it, him pushing the button, disable the cryo tank, but also seems to start up the island Wi-Fi network again, because Mitch's tablet lights up and all of a sudden they get a aerial view of where this fabled lagoon is with all the animals.
Mm-hmm.
We get the T-Rex on Main Street again with some great camera shots, and this is what you were talking about before in some of the photos you've posted up of the Tyrannosaur stalking them on Main Street. It's also weird how Main Street, whenever they're coming or going from Main Street, they see them just run off to the side and then all of a sudden they're in the jungle, when we know how big the Mosasaur lagoon that is, and we don't really see any of that in Season 2. That was more so just when the park was running.
Well, I mean, we get that comment in the first episode that the Mosasaur has been snacking on the Indominus.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
We don't see the corpse, but allegedly from the reactions, I assume there's blood and guts and floating around.
Yeah. Yep. Something start to float.
Yeah.
We also get the new shot of the Tyrannosaur hologram in front of the Innovation Centre as well, which is a little bit of an upgrade from what we saw in the film. But it keeps Rexy occupied for a little while.
Well, it seems like from what this is that it was like a party light section. Like they probably would have had special presentations outside the Innovation Center where they'd be able to draw a larger crowd, similar to what Disney does. And this and probably other holograms would have been part of that, you know.
Yeah, well, we mentioned before the promotional poster that had the Raptor on the Explorer. You had the Innovation Centre with that beam of light going into the sky. Concept art showing that beam of light in the sky. We get it here in the episode as well, where when they power up Main Street, we get that beam of light going up into the sky. It's the tropics. You're going to have after dinner, after sunset parties and that. And yeah, what better way of doing that than having a big holographic T-Rex or any other animal there as well.
But I think it's also interesting that, and I've been seeing people mention this, that the T-Rex has learned to work around the handicap of not being able to see things that are moving by relying on her other senses, like touch and smell. And, for example, back on Main Street, they fooled the T-Rex by using the cardboard cutout of Brooklyn. And she still, even though it's not moving, she still stomps on it. She recognizes that this still figure is human-shaped and thus a living creature, but even though she doesn't realize that it's not actually a cardboard cutout. But then she does the same thing again with the hologram. She's sniffing at it and looking at it, and she's realizing that through study that it's not actually there. At first she's very fooled. She's roaring back at it. She's trying to pick a fight with it.
Roar off.
But then she's realizing that this hologram isn't actually reacting to her, and thus not actually there. You know?
Yeah. The only problem with that scene from episode 1 is the fact that we have Brooklyn standing there. We cut to the Tyrannosaur, which is already charging at that point, and then we cut back to Brooklyn and it's the standee. If that cutout's not moving, the rest is going to go after the thing that is moving, which is Brooklyn running off to the side. But
well, I actually figured that out. She's not actually standing there near the cardboard cutout. She's standing out at a different part of Main Street, out of the line of sight of the T-Rex, and speaking into and using the recording she took earlier to speak into those set of the walkie-talkies, so that it sounds like she's speaking, but she's not actually in the line of sight of the T-Rex at all.
Okay. I just put it down to Legos, sort of those little jokes there that don't make a lot of sense, but it does have some backing to it. The final episode 8, Chaos Theory. The survivors fight to protect their island's animals from the poachers. We did get the introduction earlier of the lagoon. I think Kenji and Darius are there drinking water, and the theory that it doesn't matter what you are, herbivore, predator, human, if it's a water source, you can all sit there and drink from it without being in danger from each other. And of course, it's the one place the hunters want to go to because they just free for all, just shoot everything to save them. Obviously, they want to save the animals by shooting them and preserving their trophies for future times, future black market sales.
I was gonna say this seemed more like a personal pleasure kind of thing than a museum kind of thing. Like many of the specimens in the Field Museum had been personally hunted by the curators of that museum through the past many years. But eventually they realized that, hey, going out in the wild and shooting animals is not really the best way to conserve them. So they started doing other conservation methods like breeding programs, educating the locals on why they can't poison lions and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, speaking of predators, there's been numerous instances in this season of piles of carnivores just kind of cute. We saw it, I think, like episode 2 or 3. I think it was episode 3. We saw at the beginning where Darius is drawing some sketches of a pile of sleeping compies, and then we get the Baryonyx trio sleeping in a pile together. It's like actually kind of cute. And I think that they're using that as a way to kind of pull at the heartstrings when we actually see, not on screen, but we see a character kill a dinosaur with a gun.
Yeah, one of those biggest things we discussed over the entire franchise, all these humans running around with guns and no one actually getting a shot off, or getting a shot and a kill shot. But here, Tiff, she grabs that rifle and she shoots Grim, killing him.
Mm-hmm. And she does it so nonchalantly, too. I mean, she's just like, yeah, that made me feel good. Okay, we'll come back for it. We got kids to shoot.
Yeah. We go hunting kids. One thing I did have a problem with, though, was when they come to the fence and Darius tricks her to grab onto it and she gets electrocuted, when those types of fences aren't electric fences.
Yeah, obviously not.
Yeah, but
surprised they didn't show or they didn't show him throwing a stick at it.
Well, the fact you can see the bars there bolted to the concrete base, it's obvious that it's not electrified, but yeah, anyway. We get the gyrosphere just sitting in a warehouse and Brooklyn leaving the control room to run to it to back up Darius, and that, when we mentioned before about the geography, how she can get there, get that, and get caught up to him in seemingly no time. We get the gyrosphere chase. They obviously can't shoot at them through the glass yet because they haven't deteriorated as much as they do in Fallen Kingdom. But it's weird that the gyrosphere is going so fast here, when we know it's only good for about 20 miles an hour. Like we mentioned in.
I know, and that's like even free speed, because you're only supposed to go like 5 or so, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, we know even when the boys are in amongst the herbivores, Zach pushes the stick all the way forward and it just sort of just hums a little bit and goes a little bit faster. There's no way it's doing 40 miles an hour. I do love how Darius has the gun and just throws it away after Tiff gets knocked over, and then she just picks it up and points it back at him again, and tells him if you want to throw a gun away, throw it further. A good little bit of humour there. I think it's implied the snare trap that Mitch gets stuck in is one they already set up, but I don't know why you'd be setting snare traps if you're just going to go around and hunt and shoot the big animals.
They also set them up at random and then forgot where they left them, which is like a rule numero uno of hunting. Remember where you left your traps. Well,
especially since it's going to be his downfall. It's the end of Mitch, or so we think. The Tyrannosaur comes up and he's at a very convenient biting height.
Oh yes, I mean we see her sniffing at Mitch, and then the next thing we see is a broken, tattered rope end. So
yeah,
Mitch.
He could have had a knife and cut himself free, but I'm pretty sure it's implied that that's his dino food, and the fact that Tiff leaves him there to die is, again, she's just how wacko she's going at the moment. She's losing the plot.
She is stone cold.
Yep. And that's when we get to the dock. Tiff thinks she's getting away in the boat and starts gloating about it. And the boat runs up on some rocks. I would have liked to see water start going into it, because now that boat's just sitting there, presumably with Tiff's corpse on it, but it might play a point in season 3 now that Darius and Nat are keen to no longer wait for the adults to save them. They're going to save themselves. But the other two Baryonyx jump on and take care of Tiff. Again, off screen.
It seemed to me like it was kind of implied that as it left the harbor, it bumped into some rocks and scraped the hull and sank eventually.
Yeah. Well, it was driving too when Tiff's dead, so it could be just heading out to sea with no one in control. It would be
ghost ship.
Yeah.
Here's
well,
the Raptors.
That'd be one
5
hell of
years
it.
later, we're going to hear it's the Raptors. Watch. Raptors on the hunter's boat.
Well, hopefully the Baryonyx got off, otherwise they're up for a long sail out to sea as well.
Well, Baryonyx can swim, so I mean they're a semi-aquatic species.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but of course we get that ending with the E750 room. The power's off, it's melting, and we get to hear something screech or scream, roar.
Mm-hmm.
Something has come out of that tank and is alive, and setting itself up to be a big bad for season 3.
Well, we can also see like compies and other creatures starting to nibble on the wires, so it looks like the power is out for good now.
Yeah, well, that's the compies. Again, we get this little shot of animals taking over. The compies eating those wires, and that shuts off the Tyrannosaur hologram finally, because it's just been sitting there roaring the whole time, and all the lights as well. But that's Camp Cretaceous season 2. We knew it was meant to lead into Dominion. What exactly that means, we're not going to know until we get to Dominion, of course. But it's interesting. I was expecting more. Some of the stuff we speculated about what season 2 might have been didn't come. But anything else on season 2?
I liked it a lot. I thought that it was great to see poachers going after dinosaurs on Nublar, which is something I've speculated about and hope to see from a Jurassic World film for a while now. So I was very satisfied with this season.
Yeah, I think since we're getting the time jump, I would have liked to see something with the councillors on the main street. Why? On the mainland. Why has no one returned? These kids are all supposed, or most of these kids belong to wealthy parents. I don't see them just sitting back and being told their kids are dead or anything like that.
That was kind of my main gripe with this too, was that it's been almost a month at this point, at the point of the end of this season. Why are there no parents looking for them? Why are there no, it's like they've just been left here. And we know that somebody received that signal, so I think that's going to tie into the third season, but still, it's why?
Yeah.
It seems like they're taking way too long of a time to get these kids off this island. And when you accidentally leave somebody behind, the sooner you can get back to them, the better.
Yeah, especially in this time frame. Even Kenji's father being rich and having the resources, and especially if the UN having the island restricted, it doesn't have to be Masrani approved or a Masrani or InGen operation. Just go in there and get them. Get your own team and head in. Because at this point it's been up to 8 weeks and we have no idea what the outside world knows or thinks about Nublar and the kids on it.
But, if Kenji's dad has that much sway with the park, you would think that there'd be somebody doing like a kind of grid search over the island, you know?
I suppose there wouldn't be any. If the power had been off, they probably had already attempted communications with the island and obviously got no signal.
Well, you would think that Lowry was there to turn the power off. You'd think that that'd be in some kind of official report.
Which I suppose that too, why... Well, the kids might not know where the control room is, but surely Kenji might know where it is. Why the control room, why that command tower or command building hasn't made an appearance yet. Especially with the fact that it's got the helipad on the roof. If anyone was coming, you'd think that'd be the place to hide out. The Tyrannosaur can't... Yes, it can walk up on the helipad, but it can't get inside the building. If you're going to hunker down...
They couldn't get into anything because, A, they didn't have the key card. B, they didn't have the key card, the power was out, so none of the doors are going to work. You know? It looked like the only thing they had in that lab was emergency lighting, so that may have been... They may have had power only enough to the point where it allows you to turn things back on. Because, if anybody who had to turn a car on with a dead battery, you know that you have to jump it. It has to have some kind of electrical source to turn on, period. I know that with, a lot of people out of work, that people's batteries have had to be jumped. They've just been sitting around for so long that the wiring is starting to corrode, and because the car's not moving, the battery just starts to not be functional anymore.
Yeah, and
so I presume that the emergency power they have is there to provide a power source to, in effect, jumpstart the power. if it's ever a necessity, you know?
Yeah. And the all the emergency lighting would run on backups on battery anyway, so yeah. But I suppose, and I mentioned too, just the lack of no original park assets. I would have loved to see something else from that, but we can't.
I imagine. I mean, people like to discount the deleted scenes, but to me, I mean, they're entirely canon unless something on screen explicitly defies them. Like, for example, when Ludlow says that they cleaned up the park, I imagine they really cleaned up the park, except for like a few basic things, evidently the visitor center being one of them, you know?
Alright, let's tangent. On Facebook this morning when I woke up, someone had posted on there, like TNT over there, I was watching The Lost World there, and it had the Mubasa scene back in there again, and we'd start discussing how, yes, a lot of the broadcast companies have that unedited version of The Lost World with the boardroom scene and that sort of stuff. Unless it seems to be with canon being added to the films nowadays, unless it contradicts something that comes before, it's okay to say, yep, that's canon. Prime example is that Telltale Jurassic Park game. Yes, having Sorkin and her lab doesn't contradict anything else on the island, but it adds whole new issues. The labs, the research, all that stuff InGen was doing on Sauna, there's no reason why you'd have research labs and that on Nublar for Jurassic Park when that's just the theme park. The whole, and this come up to in posts about, well, what about the rest of the 5 deaths, InGen, animals migrating, that sort of stuff on the other islands. Sauna's big. There could be a lagoon on Sauna with a underwater lab there that we haven't seen yet, but you could introduce it into the franchise and it would make sense just with how big Sauna is. We don't need to keep on changing locations just to have a marine area to show where the mosasaur or plesiosaurs or anything were created. But it sparks some good discussion anyway.
Yeah, I mean, just with like the for example, Sorkin's lab that we get, I have really no problem with that, just because, I mean, we know that they were doing some level of R&D on Nublar anyway. We also know that they were doing limited cloning on Nublar, because we can see them. The genetics lab is functioning. It's just not the production floor. It's a functioning lab, but it's not the main lab, you know?
Yeah.
So I imagine that they'd give somebody like Sorkin her own private facility on site where Hammond could keep an eye on her and Wu could keep an eye on her, because she was kind of a dangerous person, and you don't want dangerous people to be given a lab on an island like Isla Sorna where they can easily hide.
Yeah. Yep. That's when the Frankenstein stuff really begins.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because we kind of get those implications from that weird birthday Eddie guy from the first season. He's like, Wu's over here building monsters, and we first thought he was talking about the Indominus, but we know now he was not talking just about the Indominus.
Yes, so many more secrets to be revealed.
Yes.
All right, Dave, that's epic record. Big one for Camp Cretaceous and the news. As I said earlier, February is normally Toy Fair month, so we might get some more toy news to come out and discuss for February. Before that, though, next week we are back to start discussing Jurassic World again with minute 52 and the build-up to the major set piece at the middle of the film, which is the gyrosphere and the Indominus takedown.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be back for that. In the meantime, head over to jurassic-peter.com for articles on Camp Cretaceous Season 2, all the episode run-throughs, the new characters, and a lot more on there. And until next week, stay Jurassic.
All right.